Hello and welcome to the show. Unfortunately, in this week's Failrace versus community, the replay for the first race has gone walkabouts. I saved it. I thought I had saved it. Apparently, it didn't work because it's not there. A few people crashed out before they could ever save the replay. A couple of people that did actually get the replay saved tried to load it and it doesn't work. So I don't know what went on with Forza. Apparently, it got upset with us. So yeah, nobody has the first replay. So unfortunately, it's going to be one of the lost races. Sadly, something that can happen from time to time with Forza. Forza 6 has been better, but it does, still unfortunately happen. Either way, we have our second race. We headed to the Catalonia National Circuit. We were going racing with C-Class Classic Compact cars. This is the Classic Compact division that Forza has. I was driving a Lotus Cortina as we all rush down towards Turn 1. An actually relatively calm Turn 1. If Catalonia passes anything to go by. I think one or two cars might have possibly escaped the track on their own at the outside. Yeah, everyone did remarkably well to survive, but as we run up the hill, my Cortina was trying to pick vehicles off as and where it could. It's around the outside of a Capri, and I would make up another position chasing the Cadet through this high-speed chicane further towards the front, and there was plenty going on in this opening lap. Lancia Fulvia was at the front of this train, but would get very unhappy across the curbs. A huge twitch from the yellow car. The Datsun would have to have a big lift to try and avoid going in the back of it. The curbs around this Catalonia circuit can be very, very nasty, and it is definitely something to watch out for. The Fulvia here is absolutely flying down the start-finish straight and would get to the inside on the run into this first corner. One of your best overtaking spots around this track. A fairly big braking zone into a Turn 1 here, and the Fulvia would get the place. Now the Datsun quicker through the corners. The Lancia got that little bit more straight line speed, and while the Datsun is fast on the run up towards this next corner, just not quite able to out-accelerate the Lancia at this moment in time. The Capri would get himself into all sorts of bother, sticking a wheel over the curb onto the grass, getting a bit sideways, and another big slide from the Ford would open the door. When you've got everyone running this close together, one little mistake is all it can take to have a swarm of cars. A Land goes one side, a Cortina goes the other. Just a little bit of a sideways moment, ending up a bit out of position, can cost you an awful lot. An RX-3 was having a look, trying to find a way past. Couldn't quite make that one work, so they're too wide up ahead, with an Escort trying to recover from a little bit of a track exploring at the front, and it was a Fairlady Z that was leading the way, although that was being rather closely followed by a Holden. And as the Fairlady Z runs too deep into the final chicane, and an awful lot of turbo noise from the Nissan is slow heading down towards the final corner, the Holden spots an opportunity, dives up the inside and gets the lead ever so briefly. Fairlady very, very fast in a straight line. Nothing that, or very fast compared to the Holden at least, in a straight line. The Holden quick through the turns, but was struggling compared to some of the other vehicles. With the Nissan able to stop the Holden, can carry fantastic quarter speed. It's already right back on the rear corner of that Nissan, but unable to find a way past. And as those front two fought, it was bringing more and more of us into the battle. The Datsun would get up to third, and released from the Lancia would go chasing after this front two. I was pushing the Lancia along in the Cortina as well, trying to make it a five-way battle for the lead as we head down towards the hairpin. The Holden goes very, very defensive, but is a little too defensive. Bounces across the inside curb, gets launched up onto two wheels. I actually take a very similar line in my Cortina, and a very similar thing happens to me. You end up on two wheels, and there's nothing you can really do about it. You're a complete passenger until it's come back down again almost. The Fairlady Z would then dip a wheel over the grass, run wide, and that would give the Datsun an opportunity. It's a big dive from the Datsun, but does a good job making sure to get the car slowed down, and would find himself up in the lead. In fact, the Holden had briefly got past the Nissan before running wide out of the chicane and dropping back again. further back, and there was a rather big tussle. This is for, I think, the lower parts of the top 10. A Mazda RX-3, Toyota 2000 GT, and the Ford Capri. Toyota goes to the inside. It's a big dive from that Toyota. He just about manages to pull it up in time. The Capri, stuck on the outside of 3 wide, has to go a very, very long way around, and it's a great move from the Mazda to just sort of sit and hug the inside, let the 2 cars on the outside fight and make up 2 positions in one go, and still they continue to fight behind him. And in a sort of a 3-way battle like this is very helpful if you can just get that little bit of a breakaway, just escape a little bit at the front of the group while the cars behind are fighting. I had worked my way up into 3rd place and was looking to try and find a way past the Fair Lady's End that gets a very, very big slide out of the chicane. A common theme, in fact, was cars having issues out of that chicane. Certainly I found myself on the grass a couple of times down there. It's always to do with trying to avoid the curbs on the inside. The big curves were launching cars quite a lot. Now, I did have some half-decent straight-line speed in the Cortina. I wasn't quite as quick as the Nissan, and he would get to the inside, had a very big dive. I felt for sure he was going to go skating off into the gravel trap. Did a great job of getting that car slowed down. I was fully prepared to try and do a cutback, or ready to do a cutback through that first corner. In the end, I just had the grip. I ran it around the outside, that would put me on the inside for the next turn, and try as the Fair Lady might, it was to the inside. I mean, that's not a fun place going too wide, particularly at the top of that hill there. However, try as the Nissan might, did not have the grip to fight with my Cortina. However, at the front, it would be the Datsun that would go on to take victory. Having worked my way up into 2nd, I didn't drive very well, made a few mistakes. Just a general scruffy race from me meant that I couldn't really go and challenge the Datsun. Any fairly similar lap times between our 2 cars when I stopped putting it on the grass. Good driving from the Datsun to work his way all the way through the field. My Cortina coming home in 2nd, with the Holden ending up in 3rd. Our final race would head to the Silverstone International Circuit in the rain. Now, this is extra mean of me because these cars, or this kind of category of cars, are quite notorious for rolling. And as we've seen in the past, wet weather on Forza 6 makes vehicles roll a lot easier, and a few of the curbs around here are pretty damn mean as we ride on board with a Datsun trying to get into the 3rd corner here. It is all a little bit of a scramble at this opening stage. Now, the front group make it through this early part okay. However, the tyre bundle on the outside would claim a few victims, me included. Unfortunately, a car up ahead got pushed into the tyre bundle and bounces back out into the traffic. It's a terrible place for a tyre bundle. It's absolutely horrendously dangerous as just cars get fired into traffic. So, yeah, a few vehicles further down did suffer. This Datsun continuing to make up places. Got to the inside of a very distinctive Cortina at the end of the long straight and able to run away. Of course, as per usual, the mid-pack was busy shuffling itself around this Lotus Elan, keen to try and make his way forward. Is around the outside of turn 1, past a Celica, while a Toyota, a Cortina and a Porsche are all not quick enough for Lotus around the next turn. Gets around the outside of 2 cars, although the Cortina a little bit better under brakes. Gotta love the terrible interior cameras on Forza replays. The Cortina sort of tried to squeeze the Lotus, didn't come off particularly well for that. Porsche got stuck on a puddle, and the Elan would make up 3 places in 3 corners. Always helpful. Always helpful when you can manage 4 places in 3 corners when you can do that one. As the race progressed, the field would spread out a little bit. The White Sunbeam, one of the cars that would suffer in the opening bundle into the tyre wall. And there were a few cars, quick cars that got dumped down towards the back that were trying their best to make it up through the order. The Sunbeam very sideways through that second corner. The Escort a little bit too late on the brakes, and Blue Car would dive up the inside as the Sunbeam finds that big puddle on the exit of turn 3. The Blue Escort would make up a couple of positions in a, sort of quarter and a quarter exit, where the Sunbeam very quick in a straight line would come flying back past down the straight. Yeah, some of the deep puddles around here are incredibly mean. You really do have to watch out for them. Now, the top 3 would get into a little bit of a bump land, this Datsun and a Ford Escort would end up shuffling themselves back down the order, so had much more overtaking to be doing. The Datsun, though, a very, very quick car, tries to get to the inside of a Holden, can't get it stopped. A Toyota doing a very, very similar thing in the background. Then the Holden finds a curb and will go for a spin. The rain was making mischief for this for this race. Everyone does a great job of not completely utterly annihilating the Holden at that corner. Yeah, curbs are dangerous. Curbs were really dangerous for these vehicles, and it wouldn't be long. It wouldn't be long. You knew someone was going to get caught out. It would be a Cortina that would roll over first. Just takes too much on the inside of turn 1. And the Lotus goes for a big, big tumble. It's 3 rolls and then into the tyre bundle. You've got to be extra careful. You just can't get away with attacking the curbs at turn 1. And that would be a Lotus very much dead and out of the race. There was still some good racing, although the field did get quite spread out in the latter stages. This Toyota trying to find a way past a Fiat, trying to get very, very close to the tyre bundle on the exit of that corner. A Porsche with a huge amount of straight line speed would come soaring past the pair of them, although if you have a car with that much speed, the chances are you've compromised the build in some other way, and the Porsche was struggling through the corners. The Toyota would again get 2 cars in 1 turn, just being able to carry the corner speed. The Fiat would end up stuck on the outside and take a little bit of escaping the track action, while the Porsche, it was just simply struggling to carry corner speed around this very, very damp circuit. I was on a recovery mission, as I said, having to take a trip through the pits, had an awful lot of work to be doing in the Cortina. However, it was a very, very quick car. The grey Escort ahead of me, struggling to get the vehicle slowed down. I go to the outside of a Fiat, although think better of it around the final turn. There's a bit of a scary place to have a car, especially with everything slipping and sliding around. There's no real need for me to risk it when I've got the acceleration in the Cortina that I do. We can simply get to the inside and outrun the Fiat on the way up in towards the first corner, and I was finding myself in some relatively clean air at this particular moment in time. You really had to make the most of whatever you could get. Back towards the front of the race, and the Ford Escort was keen to try and make up some positions. The yellow Celica here was in second place. The Escort gets a good run on the Datsun, but doesn't have the straight line speed to challenge that, I would imagine, quite soggy convertible at this Silverstone circuit. As we round turn 1, the Datsun can again pull away a little bit when he gets on the power, but a big slide from that 2000, not quite what you want to be able, or what you want to be doing. He has a go at the inside of the Celica that doesn't quite make the move cleanly. Toyota gets a little bit stuck on the outside, and Datsun is just slow on the exit of the corner. That'll allow the Escorts to have a dive up the inside into the next turn, force the Datsun to go the long way round. And while at this particular moment in time the Datsun is just about close enough that he can out-accelerate the Ford down this, it's a relatively long straight here at Silverstone. The Datsun can just about get out of range by the time they get to the next corner. It was only really a matter of time until the Escort would find a way past, although not just quite yet, as the Ford has to have a little bit of a correction for oversteer. I was in the midst of a rather big battle, this over kind of 10th place, really. And I would have been very happy getting into the top 10 from such an awful start. Ahead, Porsche and a Lotus were having an argument for position. The Porsche still struggling with those corners. My Cortina able to carry fantastic corner speed and not too slow in a straight line. Breaking into the next corner, this one here, we're seeing so many mistakes. It's such a horrible corner as the Fulvia gets in trouble. Your normal braking line is taken away because there's a big puddle there. You just can't go in it. So there was all sorts of people having issues getting the cars slowed down. I end up using the Fulvia to kind of block in the Elan, although a very, very sideways Lotus gives me a bit of a bump around that final corner. I would just about get the move done on the Lotus as we run into the first corner. The Fulvia has to take slightly avoiding action, because we have understeer, and has to take some avoiding action as a car further up ahead went for, another tumble, and I had somehow managed to work my way up into 10th place, although I had to be careful with the Lotus right behind me. You might be wondering what happened to the blue car. It's exactly the same as we saw with the Cortina, almost identical line from the Fulvia here. Not quite as many rolls, it's 2.5 from the blue Lancia. You can't get away. You can't get away with running that inside line at that curve. It's just launching cars if you clip it wrong, and that will end your race. Unfortunate for the Fulvia. I think that's about the final, going on to the final lap. At the front, though, it was the Lotus Elan that would go on to claim victory. Weathered the early chaos, and while the Escort was catching towards the end of the race, had such a huge task and nowhere near enough laps, there was nothing the Escort could do about it. The Lotus claiming victory, while it would be the Datsun that would round out the podium. Closest finished of the lot. There wasn't a huge amount of close finishes going on in this race. It was a relatively spread out one. Would be between me and the Elan. I was doing everything I could to try and fend off the Lotus. I knew he had more speed than me. I just had to make sure I could carry enough corner speed to hold it off. The Lotus tried everything he could, just threw it up the inside at the final corner, but it wasn't going to work. The grip in the Cortina, just too much for the Elan to deal with, and I would manage to finish in the 10th place. Not a bad recovery. Actually really quite impressed with how well my Cortina did in the wet weather there. However, that is going to be it for this week's Versus the Community. The next one shall take place on Thursday, the 19th of January. We are going to be on Horizon 3 at Blizzard Mountain racing B-Class cars. However, they cannot be fitted with snow tyres and they cannot be all-wheel drive. If you would like to take part in this event, then you can go to our forums. There will be a link in the description. Find the Failrace Versus the Community section, and you can sign up in there. However, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.